And then okay. All right, I think we're good to get going here. So I just want to welcome everyone to tonight's chat. And if you have any questions and you're joining us through Zoom, please put them into the chat feature and we'll go ahead and respond to you there. And if you're joining us on Facebook, we are checking your comments and questions there as well, and we'll answer them throughout the evening. We do have closed captioning, and we also have translation available, offered through our wonderful Lupe. So Lupe, you want to say something to your guests?
Buenas tardes a todos. Gracias por estar con nosotros. Bienvenidos al chateo con el jefe de policía. Si usted tiene alguna pregunta, por favor, use la función del chat y nosotros con gusto le contestamos sus preguntas. And I'll turn it over to you, Chief.
Thank you. Thank you. And welcome, everybody. As you can see, I do not have a host tonight. I'm going to try to run this one by myself because people are very busy and coming off a busy night last night. And so I do want to just thank everybody who showed up yesterday and attended our trunk or treat. It went really well. We had several agencies represented. We had AMR, or Sonoma Ambulance. We had Sonoma State University. We had Rancho Adobe Fire. We had the chief himself out here. We had CHP. And then Rohnert Park, and the truck was out here. And so, you know, I'm not sure exactly the number, but we kind of estimated probably about 400 children and families came through yesterday. And, you know, and I know there were a couple other events going on. Sonoma State also had one going on later in the evening, and then Cotati had their event over at La Plaza. So, you know, I was really excited with the fact that, you know, all of our agencies were going to get to interact with the community and the kids. And it's also means a lot to me to be able to provide a safe environment for, you know, our community to come out and the kids to dress up and interact with us. So to all of you who came yesterday, thank you. And next year we'll do it even bigger. I talked to one of the chiefs from the agency today and just said, you know, we'll coordinate time so that everybody can make it to all of them and we can actually interact in all of them. So we'll do it again next year. But I also wanted to thank all the agencies that came out and gave up their time and personnel to do that. So hope we didn't cause too many cavities as a result, but we did have fun. And then on those lines, you know, I'm sure most of you have already done this. You know, the kids go out, they get pillowcases or bags or buckets full of candy, and they come in, and, you know, if they're like me, I would go sequester somewhere in my room to keep my sisters out of it. But it is important, you know, just with some of the stories we've heard out there and some of the things going on, that you just look through that and kind of inspect it before they have full access to it. If you haven't already, it's always a good idea. Don't want to see a child get something that could be harmful for them. So if you can just take a minute to check through your kids' candy and make sure it's safe for them, we'd appreciate it. I did get a couple questions in already through the Chiefs chat. And so I thought maybe that was a good place to start. And then we'll see if other questions come in. And hopefully we have some conversation tonight. And if not, we'll get you out of here early. But I'm looking forward to the next hour for you. So one of them is talks about, and this is from Linda. I know it's an ongoing problem, but nonetheless, it's a big problem. This person is discussing a lot of work trucks, recreational vehicles, large fishing boats, utility trailers, multiple cars per single household, which are parked on the street for multiple days. And just want to know if there's something, are there law in the books to address this? And if so, are those laws being enforced? So good question. This question has come up before, but I think in the past it's been more related to some of our unsheltered individuals who are living in motorhomes. I think this is more specific to just people who are using the street as their personal storage area. So what I can tell you is, yes, there are some laws on the books. The vehicle code requires someone to move a vehicle that's been parked for 72 hours. You can't park a vehicle in the same place for more than 72 hours. The local municipal government, your city council, can set the distance in which that vehicle has to move after that 72 hours. In this city, it's 1/10 of a mile. If you park a vehicle at the 72-hour mark, you have to move it at least 1/10 of a mile. Otherwise, you're in violation. That 1/10 of a mile was established many years ago in the city. I know that there has been discussions in the past on revisiting some of our parking ordinances and especially unattended trailers and RVs and boats. So I know it's something that we do want to look at. We've had our city attorney kind of look through, see what we can do. It's a little difficult because we can't completely eliminate your ability to park a RV or trailer on the street. We can limit how long, 72 hours, but we can't limit that because from the advice we got our city attorney is if you pay registration, you have a right to park on the street. And so if you have a big recreational vehicle and it's a current registration, you can park there up to 72 hours before you have to move it. But I think that at some point, we as a city will probably be looking at the 1/10 of a mile and making it so you have to move. It's a significant move. You can't just keep moving it down 1/10 of a mile because again, the street is not your personal storage area, I've probably upset people in the past when they've asked me this, but I've explained it. If you're going to buy a boat or you're going to buy a trailer or an RV, then you have an obligation to have a plan on how to store that. And your plan should not be the street. That is not a plan. And if it is the street, then you need to have a plan to have that vehicle moved and every 72 hours. So Linda, what I will tell you is that as we're driving down the road, and I'm out and about quite a bit, I don't know when someone parked their vehicle somewhere. There's some that if I go the same route from where I live to work, and I see the same thing there all the time, I know that vehicle is probably not being moved. And I personally tell my community service officers, hey, can you tag that vehicle? I know it hasn't been moved. But other than that, when we're just driving around the city, it's really hard to know when someone came and went. So we actually depend on you, the community, to actually let us know, hey, there's been an RV or a boat that's been parked here for days or weeks. Then we can actually start the process. Unfortunately, we are a complaint-based enforcement when it comes to this because we need someone to tell us how long that car's been there. Otherwise, we would just mark every vehicle in the city every day, and that's not going to work. So if you see something or there's one in your neighborhood, let us know. There are other areas where we can address things if they're parked, say on a corner. If they're a vision impairment, sometimes we can address some of that stuff. And then you also mentioned in here about like work trucks or work vehicles. There's nothing that prevents somebody from parking their work vehicle in front of their house or in their driveway, as long as, again, they're not violating a 72-hour rule. So, and yes, we do enforce those rules. When we hear about them or when we're made aware, we go out, we tag them, we mark tires. And if we come back and 72 hours are still there, they start getting citations. And if it continues, we can tow it. So we do enforce those rules, and we're all around the city. But again, if you have an issue, or you know one that's not being addressed, please call us and we'll get out there. So thank you for that email. Darren, I will tell you that I got your complaint on Circle Drive, and it's interesting because the sergeant who is working right now actually lives in the vicinity, and so I've sent him and all the supervisors your email and asked them to be out there to do some. I definitely want to see them out there to try to address the 8 o'clock and 4:30 issue that you talked to me about, and we will do that. And then we'll also try to see if we can get a grip on what's going on with those dirt bikes. So thank you for your email. And I apologize if you indicated that you called and we said that there's nothing we can do. Not sure why that was reported to you, but we will definitely get out there and do some patrol. And kind of like the last comment about just letting us know. We are out and about all the time, and our officers, we encourage them to get down every street and when they're not writing a report or on a call, to be proactive. But there are a lot more streets in this city than there are officers in the city. And so when you let me know about a problem like this, it doesn't get looked over. It actually gets put on a call board, so that when the officers do have time to go out and do traffic control, they look and say, where am I going today? And they know where the problems are, because that's where we're getting the reports. And so don't ever hesitate to call in or send me an email like you did there, and we'll get over there. But it definitely helps if we have more of a directed approach to it, as opposed to just kind of driving around looking for them. We'll go to the area and wait for them to come to us if we know there's a problem. So again, your email has been passed on to my entire supervisor group, and we will be addressing it. So thank you. And we got one from Monica here. So Monica says, can you please address this? With the ordinance now in effect, how will we be addressing those who are unsheltered, not at Roberts Lake Road and Camp? We seem to have those in vehicles, motorhomes, or trailers throughout the city. These tenants bring debris of all sorts and make the sidewalk their porch, so to speak. Are there any plans on how we are addressing those residents on where they park and how often they need to move so streets can be cleaned? Yes. I don't know how much everyone who's watching here is aware of the things we've been doing, but we have been very busy addressing our unsheltered population and housing. And so recently we did 2 amendments to our camping ordinance. The first one we did was a behavior-based update. And what we wanted to do is, because we can't make camping illegal. We can't criminalize it. I know we beat this, this into the ground, but the courts have set some pretty stern parameters on what we can and can't do when it comes to dealing with unsheltered. And one of them is you can't criminalize homelessness, right? And so what we decided to do is try to manage it a little bit more. And so the first ordinance was behavior based. So we put in some very strict behaviors that we will and will not tolerate. For instance, the size of your encampment, the amount of debris you can have, the fact that you cannot use the sidewalk now as your personal porch, as Monica says, right? You need to keep that maintained and not block any thoroughfares, walkways, any where people traverse. So that is one of the things that we are going to be doing. That ordinance, of course, if you know how an ordinance works, you have to take the ordinance to council and there's a first reading. And then you have to bring the ordinance back to a different council meeting for the approval, right? And then once it's approved, it takes 30 days to go into effect. It doesn't happen the next day. You have to give people an opportunity to know what's going on. So that ordinance just went into effect on the 27th of October. So we are like 4 days into this. Actually, That one went into effect prior. That one went into effect in, I think, maybe the beginning of October. And then we came back and we re-amended that ordinance to add location-based. So we have a behavior-based and location-based. And the location-based talks about the fact that we're not going to make camping illegal in Rohnert Park because we can't. We would get sued and we would lose. But we are going to establish certain places where you can not camp. And we just added, we did the wellheads. So this time we added, you cannot camp in any of our creeks. That is now against our ordinance. You cannot camp within, I believe it's 1,000 feet or 1,500 feet of a school or a daycare or a preschool within the city. And we also added that you cannot camp within either 1,000 feet or 1,500 feet from an established encampment. For instance, the encampment that we are redoing on Roberts Lake Road, you cannot go camp out outside the gates there. The Labatt Landing, you cannot go camp out outside the gates there, because we know that that's not a good environment for the people at Labatt or Roberts Lake. So those are some of the things we are addressing. That part of the ordinance did just go into effect on the 27th. So our officers are aware of it. As you know, I still have a significant portion of the cops team addressing and working with the unsheltered and homeless task force and addressing that. And this is some of the stuff they're doing. They're going out and now enforcing this ordinance. And then, as you know, we're kind of redoing the Roberts Lake Road now that we got people out of there and into Labatt Landing. There's still people over on Roberts Lake. It's less, but we're going into a more of a managed encampment over there to see if we can just get things more under control. So, and I think I saw a question come in, but I got one more here that I'll finish up with. This is from Neil. And Neil says, one of the candidates is on social media saying, if they're elected, they will enforce laws already on the books to curb homelessness. What laws are you not enforcing now? So I think Neil's asking me what laws we are not enforcing. There are no laws on the books that I am aware of that we are not enforcing. We are enforcing every law we can enforce. We are part of the homeless task force. We have people from all departments in this city, and we're attacking the problem from different sides. We're working together, but we all have our kind of individual responsibilities. You have the individuals over in City Hall kind of working with the housing issue, the shelter issue. You have Public Works who are just spending a great deal of amount of time out there and doing an amazing job rebuilding that the new part of the encampment of Roberts Lake Road and the cleanup, right? And then you have Public Safety who is working with everybody, but our main job is the enforcement of our ordinances and our state laws. We are enforcing everything we can. If I had someone write into me, they filed a complaint, a citizen's complaint against the department on a complaint form, and it got to me, and I was reading it, and what it was an individual who said your staff has arrested me and cited me numerous times, and it's making it difficult, because I get these citations and stuff, and you're criminalizing me for being homeless. And I wrote him back, and I provided all the services that we're providing, and I gave him all the links that we could, to help them. Here's where you can look for shelter, food, whatever. And I said, but I'm not going to apologize for my staff doing their job, because I agree, we are not trying to criminalize homelessness. That is not what we're doing. However, I am not going to let you use homelessness to become a criminal and criminalize my establishments and the people of this community. And so that's the approach we are taking is I'm not going to criminalize homelessness, but I'm also not going to allow the fact that you're homeless to give you an excuse to commit crimes. So I can assure you, Neil, that there's no laws on the books that we are not using. There are laws on the books that the courts have come down and said, you can't enforce that on the homeless. You can't, because then you are criminalizing homelessness. So when that happened, we know, all right, that's we got to work around that one, but we are enforcing, right? And I'm sure I'll see if we get a question on the RVs. If not, I'll hit it later. But let's see what we got going on here in the chat questions here. What is the large modular building for at Roberts Lake? Checking in and out? Will this be a permanent building? And then, okay, so I understand being unsheltered isn't a crime, but what about drug use? I thought drugs were illegal. Stealing is illegal. Urinating in public is illegal. And there are multiple homeless in the creek behind Target starting fires. I've called and been concerned about this. Okay, yes. So what was the first part of that one? I read the second part, forgot the first part. Oh, the large. So we are, so if you, I don't know that anybody on this Zoom or Facebook Live ever actually went into Roberts Lake Road encampment, but it was chaos. It was homemade structures that ran together, tarps, ropes. I mean, very unsafe environment. So we passed the new ordinance that says your space now is 10 by 10. That's all the space you get. If you have a camp, you get 10 by 10. And that 10 by 10 camp has to be in an area that's not violating the location-based ordinance. So what we are currently doing, we are going to move individuals from this where they are right now in Roberts Lake in the same parking lot, just on the other side of the fence, where we are building or we are putting 10 by 10 structures. It's a 10 by 10 platform with a 10 by 10 tent. That's your space. That's all you get. You get 10 feet. And you can't be stacking stuff out around. Whatever you have has to be inside the tent. We also have security there, 24 hours a day security, right? And the portable that you're talking about, I wasn't out there today because I was training, but if it's what I'm thinking you're talking about, we're going to have, we're also going to have services out there. So housing specialists, alcohol and drug people, mental health people, we are going to have services actually in the camp. That will be the office that they work out of as we try to move more individuals out of that encampment and into shelters. So that building is actually more of the office for our service providers to work out of. You probably saw security also has their little huts there that they're working out of. They're gonna close it right now. I think there's 2 entrances. When it's done, there'll be 1 entrance people come and go at. So we're really trying to control the in and out and manage it in a much better way. The idea is to continue getting people out of there and into shelters, into living spaces until at some point that it no longer exists over there. That's the idea. We made a huge lift with the opening of Labatt Landing, and I know we have somewhere between 65 and 70 people over there now that we moved. Not all of them came out of Roberts Lake. I think 40 some came out of Roberts Lake encampment. Many came out of the creek, and so we are trying to get people out there. What I can tell you is that homelessness did not occur overnight. This problem we have did not occur overnight, right? It's in every city, everywhere, and it's just getting bigger. We're not going to solve it overnight. I'm not going to get everybody out of the creek overnight. It's the pie of nowhere for them to go. We are going to move them out. We just cleaned a huge encampment out of Heinbach Creek yesterday. And that was a large encampment that's now gone. But I can't do 20 of those in a day. There's no possibility. The city, we're working. So, hopefully just, if you want to be part of figuring out how to do it, we encourage you. We have the homeless round table, and that's where we look for ideas to help us out. And then the other one about the laws, you're right. There are laws stealing. Someone steals and we catch them, we take them to jail. We don't turn a blind eye. Drug use, absolutely. Are there drugs in the encampment? Are people using drugs? Yeah, they are. They have a problem. They're addicted to drugs. And when we catch them using drugs, we cite them when we have to, because if you remember right, we talked about this a few years ago. The citizens of California voted in Prop 47 and Prop 57, right? The legislature sold you a bill of goods. They made you believe that you were helping schools. All this money was going to go to schools now. Really, what it was the decriminalization of a lot of stuff, theft, drugs, right? So when I was a young cop, someone had a baggie of meth in their pocket, they went to jail. That was a felony. It's a misdemeanor now. We write them a ticket, right? But we do write the tickets. That's what we can do. And if we can, we take them to jail. All right. I don't have control over what happens after we take them to jail, write the report and submit it. I don't do the prosecution part of it, but we're doing our job on that. And so, yeah, the courts have also said, hey, if you're not providing these people with a bathroom, you can't cite them for urinating in the public, right? Now people have told me, well, I have to urinate in my house. Well, you have a house, you have a bathroom. So yes, we expect you to use your restroom. But for the individuals out on the street who do not have a bathroom, and because of the conditions often that unsheltered people leave bathrooms in stores and restaurants, most of those places are locking their bathrooms now. So access is limited, if not none. So yeah, it's really difficult to when the courts come down and say, unless you're providing bathrooms, you can't cite and arrest people for using the bathroom. It's a human need that people have. So I'm not going to say whether I agree or disagree with it, but what I will say is that that's kind of the dilemma that we're in. We wrote a search warrant. The cops team wrote a search warrant on a tent. It was a drug search warrant. They worked a case and they found out someone was selling drugs out of the tent, and they wrote a search warrant. So yes, are we doing what we can? Absolutely, we are doing what we can. We're not just allowing it, but we have to try to manage it, right? Are people going to use drugs out there, and are people going to use needles? Yeah. So we're going to try to put a sharps container out so that people can safely discard the needles after they use them, because I got two choices. Either they're going to use them and throw them on the ground, or someone is going to come across them, or they're going to use them and they're going to put them in an area where they're not a danger to anybody. So these are some of the decisions we have to make. Are we condoning the behavior? Absolutely not one bit. But are we trying to manage it so we keep our community as safe as we can also? Yeah. And it is a very fine line to walk sometimes. So, but thank you for those questions. They're great questions. I don't have all the answers either. So if you guys know something, if I'm missing something, let me know. What platforms, rather than painting the ground 10 by 10, are there bicycles? So the platforms, as you know, we're coming in. I mean, rain today, I think, and at least where I was, it rained today. And, we're coming into the rainy season, and you can't ask someone to put a tent on the ground in the winter and expect they are not going to come in with their own makeshift. They're going to start going around and stealing pallets and whatever else they can to get their tent lifted. So we are providing a solid base so that people are elevated off the ground, so that we don't create a secondary issue once the rains start coming. So that's why platforms are not just painted spaces on the ground. We also did painted spaces when we originally tried to move people into the Roberts Lake Road out there, and it just everything just ran together. So they don't recognize painted spaces, but they will recognize these platforms. Are there any bicycle patrols? We do have bicycle patrols. We do ride through the creeks when we have the staff to do it, and we do have a couple of new bicycles that we're using, which help. They're the electric bikes, which I refuse to ride because I'll probably injure myself on them because they are pretty fast. So yes, we do have bicycle patrols, and they are being used. We also have we sent one of our patrol officers through motor school. And so he's able to get through the creeks on his motor. And when he can't get through the motor, we have some off-road motorcycles that they're able to use. So we do try to be creative and get into the creeks. And now that the ordinance is in, as I said, we just claimed the huge encampment out behind Heimbach. We're chipping away at the other encampments, and our goal is just to get everybody out of the creek. But like I said, can't do it all at once, but we are working. Okay, but this creek is by the mobile home, which could burn down. Yes, yep, you're right. And we actually, in that behavior-based ordinance, we actually put in there that you can't, we actually address fires. And so we will be, if you see a fire out there, please let us know. If you think we'll get down there and we'll address it. But we're doing everything we can to get the word out to all of our unsheltered that these are the new rules. You will be cited. You will be arrested when we are able to, if you violate these behavior-based or these location-based ordinance now. You can still camp in areas in Rohnert Park. The courts have said you cannot make it illegal unless you have a bed for every single homeless person. We do not have a bed for every single homeless person. The county doesn't have a bed for every single homeless person. If you add up all the beds we have throughout this county, in the cities and everything, the homeless outnumber those beds. So at this point in our lives, we cannot make homeless illegal or camping illegal, right? We can't do it. So we have to manage it. And so we are trying to get out there and make rules that are not going to be challenged and cause us a loss in court, because that just sets us back, and injunctions are horrible. They stop everything. You can't even move forward. So we work closely with our city attorney's office to make sure that what we're doing is defensible. And we want to make sure that when we put an ordinance in place, it can stand that test. So we feel that we have, our ordinance is now one of the strongest in the area. And we have people reaching out to us from other counties, other cities, asking to see our ordinance and how are you guys doing it, because now they want to use it as a model. So it tells me we're doing something right. We are finding solutions. But again, as I said, if you want to become part of the solution, Homeless Roundtable, let us know what your ideas are. Well, we may tell you, hey, that doesn't work because of this. We've looked at it, but I think that there's ideas out there that we just haven't thought about yet, because we're in it. We're working from inside it. And sometimes when you're on the outside looking in, you have a different perspective and you have different ideas. And so no idea is crazy. Just want to hear them. So let's see, Jill, any questions? I don't have any questions coming in right now. And I don't have any coming in anymore on chat with the Chiefs chat. Anything on Facebook? You just nod too. I know you.
No, I can talk. No, from Facebook are the questions that you've been answering. So we have some people who've been thanking you for answering the difficult questions. So we have some comments like that, but we don't have any other questions that are coming in at the moment. So
okay.
Yeah.
Let's see what's going on. What's going on here? Well, I see the wind's coming up outside, so I think we got a little bit more stormy weather coming. So I will definitely ask people just to, we had a few collisions today, which didn't surprise me, only because usually that first couple rains, all the dirt and oil on the road mixing with that rain makes it very slick. So, just leave a little bit earlier or take a little bit more time to get to where you're going. We have a lot of kids out in the morning walking to school and then after school. So just be careful. I don't want anybody to get hurt. Stay off your cell phones, please. We are truly going to be making a big push here on cell phones. I know there's a distracted drivers month and that's coming up soon, but there's a few violations that kind of stick with me, and the cell phone is one of them, only because I've just seen so many bad things happen when people are on their cell phone. And yesterday, someone was on their cell phone, and I believe it was really something, they were really engaged in that screen enough that they didn't stop and they ran into one of my fire engines. And so now we've got to get the back extension fixed. But that's a big piece of machinery to run into. And it does a couple things. One, it really damages your vehicle. And two, it can take one of my fire engines out of service to get that fixed. And we have extra fire engine to fill in, but if another one goes down, it can affect response. So please stay off your phones and don't run into any of my fire engines anymore. I would appreciate it. We do. It looks like a question. Someone's feeling bad for me because they see me floundering up here with no questions. So thank you. Any plans celebrating Veterans Day like Petaluma does? Not sure what Petaluma is doing. I know that that's the city that does the reenactment. I'm not sure. We always we definitely try to always do something through our social media and with our officers out on the street to recognize and thank our veterans and those who are serving. I know my staff makes sacrifices, coming in and they provide a great service to the community, but the men and women who join the armed forces and make that sacrifice and take a chance of being deployed away from their family for so long. And then just, during deployments, the risk that they're taking over there, my hats are off. I thank each and every one of you. And so we will definitely be honoring our veterans on Memorial Day. We have veterans who work here. I know that day means a lot to them. And so, but I'll actually look to see what Petaluma is doing. I'm curious to see that. In fact, speaking of that, hopefully, just a little story. We hired a community engagement coordinator. We took a new job to council during the budget session and said, we need this person. We need, Jill, thank you, and Rebecca and everybody who helped get our social media and get everything posted. But that was ancillary to their normal duty. So over and above what they're supposed to be doing or what their job was, I'm asking them to, be my social media people. And so it's like, it's not fair to them. And we need to pump out more information. So we actually, council approved the community engagement coordinator, and she is now on now, Jennifer, we call her JP because that's what she told me to call her, and I'm afraid to mess with her. So I'm call her JP, but hopefully you've seen even a different look on a lot of our social media and what we're doing. We're getting some more posts out there. If you're getting inundated with us, let us know. I'll talk to her about it. But we're seeing a huge change, and so the reason I say that, I'll ask her because she was the community engagement coordinator in Petaluma until she decided to come and work for Rohnert Park. And so I'll find out. I can ask her what the Petaluma is doing, and although the chief over there gets mad when I copy him, maybe I just won't tell him this time. Let's see. How is the officer in the accident where the car ran a red light? I spoke to her downstairs. She's back to work, and she's tough. She is she's an impressive young lady, and who I think just loves her job. And I don't think we were going to keep her out of her job. I think we told the doctor to make her stay home a couple of days just to make sure she was gone or she was okay. But she's back, and I think she said she had 2 DUIs last night, and doing fine. But thank you for asking. Thank you. That was scary. I got a text late at night about that one, and I never want to have to call a parent or loved one and tell them that their spouse or significant other has been injured. So it was good to hear she was okay. But I do appreciate you asking. With the new left turn signals, is there a concern with increased accidents? Has there been an uptick in accidents since they've been installed? We've had a lot of accidents, but they're not because of the yellow. Those flashing yellow lights have actually been extremely helpful because we're not getting the backups we had, and People have, when you give people that entire green light system to make their left turn when safe, you have less people trying to beat people to the intersections or get through a yellow light or just bust a red light. I'm sure we've had a couple of collisions. They haven't reached my desk, but I can tell you that if we were having a significant amount or an increase in them, my staff would have let me know to work with Public Works. But we're seeing a much better traffic flow on many of our streets because traffic is not backing up and holding up traffic. So I think they're working great, and no, we're not seeing an uptick at all. How is recruitment with RPDPS? Great question. We currently have seven individuals in the Santa Rosa Police Academy, and they will be graduating in December. So this place is going to be bustling with new young PSOs. That's exciting. We were trying to put 4 or 5 in the January Academy. And I will tell you, leading up to when we were doing the recruitment for this last session, who's in there now, I was asked to talk at different locations and to different groups, and this question would come up, the recruitment. And what I told him is, I said, I think that with everything that's happened over the last couple of years, and then with COVID, and we are definitely we're with everybody else in the county, the state. We are seeing a decline in the quantity of applicants. There's no doubt. Where we used to have 200 show up for a physical agility test, we're having 20, maybe 15 now. So the quantity of applicants has dropped significantly. But my statements to them after getting 7 kids in this last academy was that although the quantity's down, the quality of applicants seems to be up a little bit, right? So I'm not getting 200, I'm getting 15 or 20, but I was able to get 7 out of those 15 or 20, and they were great applicants. To where I in my other life at a different agency, when I was a hiring agency, I'd be lucky to get 1 out of 100, but I had hundreds to select from. And so maybe we were just, I don't know, I don't know what it is, but the quality had gone up. This last recruitment, I've been struggling. I will tell you, not the same quality applicants as I was getting used to, and not horrible. They're not horrible people. Just like some of the background issues I'm running into, and I just, I think that we as an agency, and I think we're trying, but we have to get better about getting to our youth. We're targeting. We think our recruitment is up here at the 19, 20, 21, 22, 23-year-olds, right? The college kids. That's where we think about, we got to get out there and recruit these kids. And we do. But if we're not doing a good job in the elementary schools and the middle schools and the high schools of letting these individuals who may want to do this job when they grow up, letting them know what the expectation is and letting them know what's going to be disqualifying for you. What decisions that you make now are going to haunt you when you try to get a job in law enforcement because of the background issues, right? So that at least as they're growing up, they understand what could impede them from their dream. So I think we just as a profession need to still try to recruit out of the colleges and the military and all these, because those are the people who can be an officer right now. They're old enough, they meet all the criteria. But we got to make sure that we are helping them get to that point without disqualifying themselves early on in their career before they even get started. And I don't think they understand. When they go into a polygraph and they disclose certain things, about their past, and I get all the time, I get someone calling me and said, I was honest in my polygraph. I don't understand how I failed. And I got to tell them, you didn't fail the polygraph. When they put you on the machine, You passed the polygraph. The machine did not say you lied. The machine said you were truthful. Then why did you disqualify me? It's like, well, you're going to need to go back and think about the interview, but you're not disqualified because you failed the poly, because you lied. We can't move you forward in the process because of some of the information that you had to provide us about incidences in your past in order to be able to be truthful when we hooked you up in the machine. So it wasn't that you failed the machine part. It's just that you told us a lot of stuff that kind of makes you unhireable. But congratulations, you did pass the poly. And so what I say to that is, someone along the way, we needed to let them know at a young age what those hurdles are going to be. If you want to be a police officer, you can't do this in your younger life. This is going to follow you. So as far as recruitment, yes, a little bit tough right now, but we've got more testing coming up. We have an open recruitment. We're always looking for good people, and we'll get them. We'll get them. We'll be ready for the July Academy. I'm confident in that. So thank you for asking. And I saw someone say, "Did you have a question?" Was that for me? I know that was a long dissertation. So
No, we have someone in the chat who has raised their hand, but we don't use that feature. So I was just writing them to see if they have a question and to put it into the chat feature. So that was reaching out to someone who's on the chat. So that was me.
I thought maybe I'm just running on with this answer too long, and someone's asking me, "Is there a question in this, Chief?" So
No. Yes. Yeah.
So I was in training in San Ramon for about half the day today, and it was on the RIPA, the Data Racial and Identity Profiling Act that was passed back in 2015, and Rohnert Park would be starting it now, but we actually started a year early because we just wanted to get that out there. So today was a training on that, and there's some changes. We just want to make sure we're up to date. But I actually went there with a good friend, the chief from Cotati, Mike Parrish, who we work very well together, and the chief from Mill Valley, Rick Navarro. And so we went to the training together, and the text went out. Your text went out about the chat tonight, and we were coming home in the car, and he goes, "Oh, you got a chat tonight." So we were talking about it. Parrish said he was going to call in. He was going to call in with some questions. And I said, "Yeah, that's why I don't allow call-ins. So you can't call him and bug me." So he might have been the one raising his hand. I don't know. I think he still thinks I was going to call on him. But yeah, so I think a couple of weeks ago when we did this, I talked about it, but one of the things I'm looking at doing is taking the chat more live. Maybe not all the time, but maybe once every couple of months, finding a venue. I am looking for the venue because I don't want to lose the feature of at least the Facebook Live or the Zoom, because I don't want someone not to be able to watch because they can't get somewhere, they can't get to a venue. So I want to keep the Facebook Live and the Zoom going, but actually do it at a venue where if someone actually did want to come in person, they could come and ask questions in person. I'm still working on that because I'm working on trying to get a location. My first thought was I could probably use one of the churches that have helped me in some of the past chats get going, because during COVID they had to set up for Zoom and Facebook Live. So they've got all the media stuff already set up to do exactly what we want to do, be in person, but also stream live and on Zoom. But unfortunately, there are people out there when I have a host on who is one of the pastors, but is doing it because they're also a friend and a community member. I've gotten some emails and some correspondence, and they've sent stuff to the council and stuff, and having an issue with me bringing a pastor on to just ask the questions or host it. So although I think it would be a great venue, it's obvious that when I do something like that, people believe I'm pushing a religious view on them. So I'm going to stay away from that because that's not what it is. But in the meantime, until I can find a venue that is set up like that we can still actually stream live from and do the Zoom, we'll continue doing it by Zoom. So if anybody knows of a venue that has that capability, because it'd be really difficult to ask Jill and Lupe to pick up all their equipment and bring it to the recreation center and set it up and then tear it down. When I know there are venues in this city, I know there's a few of them that I won't be using that are already set up for it. And I thought it would have been a perfect, but at this time I'm just not. There's a lot going on in the city, and I don't need that that additional issue raising its head because there are a few people don't think I should do it. So, but then I've also been accused by a lot of people of really not worrying about what a few people think. So don't be surprised. Don't be surprised. But I'm just letting you know, this is why I mentioned it a while ago. We haven't done it because I'm trying to figure it out. So, but I don't see any more questions. So I think we will give Lupe and Jill an early night off. Let Jill go take her medicine better. And again, I thank you so much for coming. I know you weren't feeling well, so thank you for pushing through and sacrificing. And Lupe, always thank you. You are also amazing. And sometimes Lupe goes, is there a chat tonight? And I don't know if she's hoping I say yes or hoping I say sure. But she always has, she never shows. She got a good poker face. So I never know what she's thinking. But thank you so much, because I know I hold both of you over every other week for an extra couple hours of work. So I appreciate it. And to all those who watched tonight and had the questions, I really appreciate it. We will see you back here in 2 weeks. So send your questions into the chat if you have them, and if I'll answer them if there's something that. If not, I'll hold them off till the next chat, but I'll answer them for you immediately. But usually if you're asking, someone else has the same question. And please, again, we are here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. I promise someone will pick up that phone and answer. So don't ever think you're bothering us. Please call, let us know what your concerns are. And as I said, a lot of what we do is complaint based, especially on our community services officer in the parking. So don't think we know about it, because we probably don't if you're not telling us. And that goes for the traffic concerns you have also. So, hey, until we see each other in 2 weeks, take care. And I'm always here if you need anything. Feel free to call me or email me. I'll always get back to you. And thank you too again, and we will see you soon.
Hi, thanks, Chief.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye.